Hi guys, and welcome to the Beyond the Champion show. Today's show, we have Cliff and Marta Wilde on the show, and these guys, well, to say they changed lives would be a bit of an understatement. They actually changed my life. Started me on my journey back in 2000. I say started on my journey, I was well on my journey at the time, but when I was in a position where I really needed someone to inspire me. If you listen to the second episode, you'll realise I went through a lot of shit when I was working at Aviva, losing secondments, which weren't due to my ability. It was down to offshoring and so on. Basically, I'd lost my second management secondment. This goes to show how much these guys are there to help people and how much they want to help people. I was off work with anxiety and depression, and another two guys who I spoke about, John Chapman and Leon Buston, the Lean Machines. Training with John pretty much every session, very good mate. And Cliff and Marta had a seminar, couldn't afford to go. They said, screw paying, just come along. Leon and John said, hop in the car, we're not going to say pay for any petrol. We went there, knowledge bombs were dropped, awesomeness happened, and the rest is history. So I'm very thankful to Cliff and Marta. And yeah, so in the show we highly talk about how highly stressed we are as a society, what to do to deal with it. We touch on a little bit of infant nutrition. We also talk a little bit about how they've changed people's lives, people's perceptions, people's journeys, people's mindset. There's a lot of stuff dropped. So have a listen. As always, and as discussed before, pop some reviews on the actual iTunes and tell us what you want to hear in the shows. Drop me an email. Contact me on bodycatchers.com. Ollie at bodycatchers.com if you want to email me. I have actually got some news coming up regarding my coaching about spaces which are going to be coming open, which doesn't happen very often. Also, proteindynamics.com, OJAY20 for some good discount and a bit of a goodie bag there as well. But anyway, I'll stop rambling on and let Cliff and Marta take over. Enjoy. So, we've got Cliff and Marta Wilde here from Wilde Performance. Thank you guys for joining us here on the Beyond the Champion show. First off, what's the weather like over there?
It is incredible.
I can imagine. We have all the Brits complaining about the heat, but you guys must be used to it. How long have you been over in Cyprus now?
2 months, literally. It was a couple of days ago. It's been 2 months. It's gone so quick. It's unbelievable.
Blimey, is it still honeymoon period or settling in still?
Yeah, we're pretty good to be honest because we spent 9 weeks here last year. We kind of got out of the whole we should do some work, oh no, it's really sunny, let's go outside phase, which we kind of went through last year. And then this year we've been really good with it actually, and we have a really good balance of work and life anyway, so it actually works out pretty well. So now, although we can look outside and can't see a cloud and it's about 35 degrees, you don't have to instantly go and run outside because you kind of know it's there for about 9 months of the year.
Exactly. It's not like over here where we've got a couple of days of heat wave. You've got 50% of the population complaining, and then the 50% are I'm outside working. However, when you do go outside, you can't see the computer screen anyway, so you might as well just chill out there. So
exactly,
yeah, agree.
Anyway, digressing already straight away in the show. If you want to just tell us a little bit about each of you guys, and then we'll go from there.
He's tapping me here to go first. It's usually one or the other, and whenever one of us starts, the other one just doesn't get to talk for another 15 minutes. So we'll see how that goes.
Let's just go for it, yeah.
Yeah, so I am Marta Wilde as of last year, which is much easier actually just introducing myself now, so I don't need to use my Polish surname that just used to confuse everyone. So I'm the female part of the Wild Performance Awesomeness that we run. Wild Performance stands for awesomeness, as we always say, and we're just brutally blunt with it these days because this is what we want to help people believe, that they can feel awesome, they can feel amazing, they can become a better version of themselves if they want to. And as it started from mainly helping people on the nutritional front a few years ago, and back ages ago when we both started as personal trainers and then moved into nutritional therapy now, it turned into more of a whole life kind of makeover for people, if you like. We deal with people mainly that are really sick and have been sick for ages, and quite often they're business owners, entrepreneurs, people that have burnt out over the years of just completely going at it in their business, forgetting their family, forgetting themselves and looking after themselves, and as a result they're suffering from burnout that comes from quite often all sorts of different medical issues. So I'll let Cliff talk about that in a second, because he's the physiological and biological brain of Wild Performance, while I help these guys realign their mind with their bodies, because quite often people come to us and think, yeah, I just need to fix this, fix that, and I'll be fine. But because they've been suffering for so long, they don't really believe they can get better. They don't, and quite often they don't even realize they can get better because it's been so bad for so long. So my part is dealing with their belief systems, helping them understand that they in fact can be whoever they want to be, and they can be as healthy as they want to be, but at the same time the rest of their life will improve as a result, because it always starts with obviously the health issues that they come to us with, but it just spans over across the rest of their lives and every single aspect of it. So helping to connect the body and mind together is what I do with our guys.
Cool. And yourself, Cliff?
Well, I haven't got really much from that, am I? So yeah, well, I'm the other half of the relationship. And yeah, obviously, so Marta's part, her real genius part of what she does is coming from the point of view of getting the head congruent with the body. And I suppose I come from the opposite side, so I get the body congruent with the head as well, so they think in line together. And, you know, we use various different methodologies. I think one of the specialisations for us and the way we are and the way we work is that we don't we don't basically put ourselves in any one bracket where we don't use just one methodology. Okay, we're trained in functional medicine, trained in nutritional therapy, done loads of different qualifications here and there, but the real key we ever do with anyone is treat them as a person. And my job is to treat them as a person, to pick them up from the place they are, take the 30,000 foot view of them, just essentially break it down and give them steps that are achievable, they feel are achievable, but they know are going to get to an end result, which is often what they've been missing for many years, which is normally their health.
Cool. So we've got Marta, you focus on the mind side of things. Cliff, you focus on the body. What is the first step you would look at taking with a client? Would it be the body or would it be the mind?
He's pointing at me. I wanted actually Cliff to say something, because I've always been on a journey of self-improvement, mindset shift and transformations, and whatever you want to call it. People, attempt to put one thing down and say the other is better. It's overall working on you becoming the best version of yourself, whatever you want to call it, mindset work, transformation, whatever. This is something that we believe is the first most important step, whether it is people working with us on an online basis in a group program or whether it's our one-to-one consulting. We always tell them and make them aware of the fact that unless we realign the mind with the body and the beliefs more than anything, unless we help them believe in the fact that they are getting to where they want to get to, any other changes on the physiological level, they're never going to be fully and truly long term, because we have a set of beliefs, our belief system, we've got sets of habits. It's almost like a blueprint for life, and we're just running those pre-recorded programs and downloads that we've got from childhood, and if they do not match up and they do not add up with the optimal health, feeling great, feeling amazing, having loads of energy, not feeling burnt out anymore, that burnout is going to come back, that lack of energy, that, the symptoms that they're suffering with, that's going to come back sooner or later, because deep down, somewhere there is that recorded videos saying you can never be healthy, you can never truly have loads of energy. I don't believe that I can jump out of bed and feel energized and full of, joy and love for life. So although we never truly start just with one thing and then introduce another as such, we always make sure that the guys that work with us understand that how important working on their beliefs and on their mind is. But then at the same time, alongside, we're giving them the steps that we believe they're ready to take at this moment in time, where they are at that moment in time, to then keep moving them forward. So again, we believe working on their mind is really important and one of the first most important steps, but we give them what they need at this moment in time on both levels, and then it progresses as they go through the journey. If that makes sense?
Yeah, totally. And like when you say with getting them to believe that, like, how do you deal with, or not how do you deal, like, what do you see is the biggest reason that people believe they can't get better?
It's the proof, in inverted commas, and the evidence that they've been experiencing up until the point where they stand at our doorstep saying, guys, I don't think I can do anything about it, can you help? Because any of our beliefs and anything that we're holding as our truth, and we need to remember that truth is very relative. My truth will be different to yours, Ollie, and it will be different to Cliff's truth.
Yeah.
So what we consider as true to us is very relative based on what we've heard and seen and spoke to other people about in the past and watched from other people. Quite often, all of that stuff starts from when we were very, very little as children, and then going through our life. And quite often for the guys that come to us, it will be the authority of the doctors that they went to see along this journey that said, this medication for life, or you're not going to get anywhere, or this operation, this surgery, or, this is something that's just going to be there forever, you just need to learn to manage it. It's said to them with a very key, important ingredient of what beliefs are created of is the authority, and they say it to them confidently and with repetition. I always say that if you've heard something over and over again from someone who you hold as an authority to you, and they're saying it to you confidently, boom, you've got a belief created, and then that's the job that I come in with, where I'm helping them unwind that, and it's literally like rewiring certain connections in their brain to actually help them readjust their mind to go alongside the body. So yeah, that's I wouldn't say it's hard or difficult, but that's the most common thing that we face with people that would have been down the conventional medicine route quite often, where they've been exposed to so many examples or pieces of evidence or proof within the conventional medicine approach that this can't be helped or this can't be dealt with, that then we have to step in and show them the other truth, our truth.
Yeah, exactly. So with that as well, like you mentioned about conventional medicine, do you feel like the information is actually out there to actually help people with conventional medicine, or is it more confusing than anything?
The thing is that the interesting thing with this, and most people, you'll find certain people in very certain camps, you'll find the extremely medically, clinically, doctor-driven camp. Yeah. Which is, it's very absolute, you have this disease, this is absolutely the drug that treats you. And then you'll find the other camp, which is the absolutely other way, which is the conventional medicine, awful, worst thing that ever happened, everyone's out to kill us with pharmaceutical industries and all this kind of stuff, which is the more real holistic side of it, right? Mm-hmm. And the way in which me and Marta look at it is that we tell people that information out there to help you and transform you is there. And it is often a blend of finding something conventional and something holistic and bringing them together under an umbrella that works for people. We work in a way that, we have to use certain herbs or we have to use certain things on a physical side to help people get better. But if someone truly believed that using a synthetic antibiotic rather than using something like oregano oil or whatever it might be is going to serve them from a belief system, then who are we to tell them it's wrong because of our beliefs?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So I think the thing is with it is that there needs to be a bit more of a paradigm shift with regards to understanding where we all fit into this bigger picture of health. And like it's always, people say to us, it's like, oh my God, how do not many more people know about you? Why are you not treating the world? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. If you're in a car crash, you're not going to ring us.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's got their place. It's like we're all one big team, and you need to actually have the teamwork. So I suppose you can look at it in the fitness industry as well, where the bodybuilders won't like the people that are in CrossFit, and then they won't like the endurance athletes, and vice versa.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's all to do with identities, and it we're like as human beings identifying ourselves with approaches, or for our guys that we work with quite often is identifying with diseases. And you have people joining countless groups on depression on Facebook, countless groups on gut disease on Facebook, or countless forums on infertility. And you just surround yourself with people that you feel are similar to you, but you don't want to be like that anymore. So how are you ever going to move forward? So it's quite often with identity as well that that's something that we need to help the guys we're working with to understand, and then move on to actually where they want to be and who they want to become.
Cool. When you look at like some of the people you've worked with, what do you feel are some of your biggest achievements with your clients?
It really depends how far you want to go with it.
Well, the biggest achievements, push the boat out, go out there.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Yeah, okay. Well, we worked alongside a mentor of ours, and who's incredible. And we had someone who came to us with stage 4 prostate cancer. And he was given a palliative reading that basically means that anything modern medicine knows you can't help right now. He was on very expensive drugs in the Middle East, blah, blah, blah. And so he worked with us on the nutritional lifestyle side, and worked with our mentor on the more medicine-based side. And, well, long story short, a year later, you know, the thing they measured prostate cancer on is the prostate-specific antigen. And his prostate count, when he came to us, was at 1,400 and something. And it should be way less than 10, like 5 in most instances.
Right.
And when he finished with us, he was at 0.052. And basically the radiologists and all them were talking when they were doing his scans about how the cancer, because he had secondary cancer in his bones as well, in his spine and his ribs. And they were all talking about how that had all receded, there was no new growth, and it's amazing what the drugs are doing and stuff. And, they told him the drugs don't do anything. So that's probably one of the more out there transformations from a point of view of someone's health. From other ones that are more, I suppose, standard for us, are a lot of people come to us for gut issues or gut diseases. Obviously, my previous history is ulcerative colitis, and getting myself med-free, symptom-free. Over 6 years ago, it draws a lot of people towards us for that. So, we've had countless people who have chosen in their own part, because we're not medical doctors, we can't tell them to do that. They've chosen through feeling very, very well to come off their meds and be in remission, and then you've got other people with the mindset who have been on 2 different types of antidepressants and come off them, and there's
the strongest possible sleep-inducing medications, and they still couldn't sleep. And they've come off them after a couple of sessions that we had together as well. I can't tell them to take or stop any medications. Like I said, we're not medical doctors.
Yeah.
They do it out of their own belief, again, that they don't need them anymore. And a couple of other examples, a lady who was trying to get pregnant for 3 years, over 3 years, 6 failed IVF cycles, and nothing was happening for her and her husband. And within 6 months, we got her pregnant. Not we got her pregnant. I say it with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. But she did get pregnant, and she's just had a beautiful baby a few months ago. And the thing is, there were things on the physiological level that weren't connecting and communicating in her body, and that's what Cliff massively helped her with. But when I sat her down during our sessions together, our time together, and I said to you, actually, deep down, we had a really great connection. So I said to her, I'm just going to go out there and ask you the question that I really feel should be asked. Do you believe you can be a mother? She's like, of course I do. So that was the ground foundations of her actually becoming a mother a year later, just over a year later, to then for her body to start communicating, to start being able to be a host to that new life. So again, it just shows how important it is to connect the two together. So these are probably some of the most profound and incredible transformations. But there's plenty more. We could just not shut up for another 2 days, probably.
Yeah, probably be a really long podcast.
It's all good. I mean, there's some major things which obviously you've had a hand in curing, as you say. And no doubt people will start saying, oh yeah, whatever on some of them things, but the facts are there. And the proof is there that it's actually been, with you being part of the team, that it's happened. So
the thing is, the way in which we always speak about Ollie is that, we've never used words treat, cure, or anything like that. We don't go out to do that with anyone. Like the examples of people getting into remission or anything like that, we purely consult to them on a non-disease basis. It just so happens they have the disease. But it's just a label. All we do is we look for connecting things that are not connecting in the body. Because in a very conventional sense, they're looking at, okay, you've got a problem with your knee, here's an anti-inflammatory, here's a support, here's whatever it might be. You've got a problem with your thyroid, here's a thyroxine, here's this, this, and this. But no one's looking at why the problem is there. So all we do is we look from a functional perspective of how we can connect these dots to make the body find its homeostasis or its balance again. And that's literally all we do. So we never tell people we've cured anything or done anything. It's just these results come as a side effect of helping the body become the best version of itself from a nutritional, lifestyle, mindset point of view.
So I suppose it's like where you look at a lot of the times, cures, well, people seem to treat the pain rather than the underlying cause.
The underlying cause.
Yeah, absolutely, all the time.
And also going back to what you said, certain people will dismiss it automatically and say, no, it's all bullshit, pardon my language. The thing is that there will be people like that out there because, again, based on the evidence they've had in their life up until now, things like that are impossible. But what we always say, it all comes down to the point of readiness, and we all get to the point that we're ready to do something different in our life. For some of us, it's just, unfortunately, quite late down the line. But if someone is not ready now, again, we're not here, it's not for us to say this is right or wrong, it's just where we are at this moment in time in their journey. Yeah. And if they decide to do something different to achieve a different result in the future, that's amazing. And that's obviously making our hearts sing because we know they're going down the route of actually believing in a different fact, a different truth. They're changing their reality. But if someone's not there at this moment in time, that's where they need to be to learn something from it.
Yeah, and everyone seems to come to us at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and you mentioned as well, you had the ulcerative colitis before. I know when we first met, I remember we all went to a restaurant after the seminar, and we all basically, I think it was only John and Leon who were the only ones that could order something normal off the menu, looking for gluten-free, egg-free, whatever free. And when I spoke to you a few months ago, Cliff, you mentioned that now you're actually able to have gluten when you want, and you've managed to fix yourself with regards to that, and you now believe that every cell in the human body can potentially be regenerated. What sort of things did you do to help yourself be able to eat gluten and things like that?
Yeah, sure. Because the thing is that I'll be very honest. A good few years back, when I was kind of searching into stuff, gluten was the devil, and everyone should be off it, and it kills more people than it helps, and all that kind of stuff. But as your journey expands, and as you expand as a person, and what you learn and knowledge, your experience on yourself, compliance, all that kind of stuff, you understand it's not quite as absolute, it's not so cut and shut as that. So from my perspective, what I had to do to heal is I had to take, what I do is with clients as well, is I take a position of looking at the buckets above the head, as I call it. So if you imagine one bucket that's above your head and it's just dripping on your head, it's kind of annoying, right?
Yeah.
But most people in the Western world nowadays have 10 or 12 buckets, and it's like having a waterfall, and it's just overwhelming for your body. So people, it's mental, physical stress. We're talking mindset issues. Talking, maybe have a clinical disease. Maybe their food is out. Maybe their exercise choice is wrong. They're not sleeping very well. Arguments with their boss. You name it. There's all of a sudden you get to 7 or 8 of them there, and I'm not even really thinking. And so what I had to consciously do was I had to take a step back and look at where these ones were. And, for me, I had 3 different parasites. I had bacterial infections. I was on an immune suppressant drug that was knocking my adrenal axis out. So my ability to balance my blood sugars and produce sex hormones and burn fat and all that kind of stuff was completely out. So, but then I had to look deeper and go, right, okay, well, I've got the infections. What else is out? I had a very stressful job. I used to be in finance way back. I had horrible food. I wasn't sleeping. I was partying a lot. I was drinking a lot. So all I essentially did is I started reducing the buckets, and I started transforming as a person as a result of that. So, even most people would be like always, it's impossible to do that. But even when I got myself into remission, which was 6 months after I started, looking at my journey back in 2009 with colitis, I was in remission and off all my meds. But I was still having the odd bit of gluten in my diet, or I was having, the odd bread roll from Borough Market in London, if people know it, and, coffee, and because Mark got me onto it, so cool, and drinking alcohol every now and then. But we know in someone who's in a chronic flare and stuff like that, these are real horrid triggers. So again, going back to the point that every single person, no matter what case they come to you at, needs very different things at different times. So basically, I get people to mark these buckets out at 10. 10 being that, it's perfect, everything's great, nothing could be any better. And 1 being, this needs immediate attention, I can't continue like this. And all of a sudden, you start marking yourself on stress, mindset, infection, sleep, whatever it might be. And you start seeing where your numbers are 7, 8, 9, they're pretty good. And then you start seeing the 3s and 4s and 2s. And right, well, this is where I need to be. Because if I can bring all my numbers up to a 5 or a 6, then across the board, I'm feeling much better as a person. And that's what I did in my life.
Yeah, so it is like an amazing journey that you've been on, and like being able to fix yourself. You mentioned in there about stress. Now, we see like in modern society, people are more stressed than ever. However, like people don't realise exactly what stress is. I've noticed, like they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm stressed out at work," but then they'll go to the gym and train because they believe it's relaxing, so to speak, because it's their time. But then they're causing more stress on their body. What are the biggest things that you see causing stress?
One is really poor sleep.
Yeah.
The second one is mental stress. The third one is exercise stress.
Okay.
And people are like, well, your mental's not talking about food. And it's like, yes, we all know, if you dig down with people, everyone will know you need to eat more fruits and vegetables, and you need to eat some decent proteins and have some good fats and blah, blah, blah. We can all chime that off all day. But no one's really talking about the real stuff that makes a difference. Like give you an example, we had a really high up engineer who's clearly amazing at what he does, was having a product patented. Obviously, it's very stressful time, working all hours under the sun. The guy could barely get out of bed to open the fridge. And he was doing Ben Pulowski's MI 140 training like 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
And so we said to him, okay, well, you're doing 12, 13-hour days. You've got this mentally exhausting job. You're not sleeping great because of that. And then you're going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week to do this exercise. He was like, yeah, but the exercise, like you said, makes me feel better. And it obviously explaining him that the reason it makes him better is because it stimulates the stress response in his body and gets a little bit of a kick from adrenaline and cortisol that brings his energy up a little bit. And that's why people reach for coffees and stuff as well. But the thing is with him was explaining to him, actually, if you give us a bit of time when we change your chemistry, actually 2 to 3 months later, that guy was going to Tai Chi.
So a lot more relaxing stuff and everything.
But a lot more movement based. Yeah. We encourage people to move. And it's not to say weightlifting or endurance or any of these things are the wrong thing for people. It's just that you have to look at the person where they're sitting at you at that time in front of you.
Meeting them where they are.
And meeting them where they're at, rather than our belief of what they should be doing, which is very much what, for instance, like the fitness, health and wellness industry is built around.
Well, what the guys that Cliff mentioned is doing now, he's returning back to doing weightlifting to a certain degree because he genuinely enjoys it. But at this moment in time, he's adding on to him feeling better, being more active and complementing his lifestyle rather than actually bringing further and further down into that downward spiral that he was on, only about 18 months ago.
Yeah, and I suppose like it's where we see so many people that is like, here's a training plan, here's a diet plan, or you see in different magazines like here's a training plan. It's all like cookie cutter stuff. There is no real cookie cutter thing which will 100% work for everyone. That it has to be tailored into the individual, I believe, as well.
Yeah, for sure. If you think about it, when someone comes to us before they're even allowed to work with us, they'll go through about 8 or 9 pre-screening forms. They'll likely go through some testing. They'll probably go for about an hour's worth of conversation with us before we'll even talk to them about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, you're crazy doing all that." And it's like, "Well, hang on a minute. if we are going to serve someone and we're going to help them transform their life, why would we just give them something we can type up in 20 minutes? Why would we not spend our time getting to know them, and build that trust, that relationship before we administer what we feel is going to be a positive step?
Yeah, and this is something where I've done that a lot with my clients, like over the last few months, over the last year, like the service that I offer has completely changed. And you can see, like, from the way people and the way the industry is, that if they're writing those sort of plans, how much that you're actually going to get from those plans. And then people that are charging the money, and they're like, hang on, that's a lot of money. But then as soon as they see the service that they're getting, it's not a lot of money. So
it's putting a value, not even, the thing is about justifying spending money on something, it's deep down, and a lot of people will be like, ouch, at this moment in time, but it is the deeper truth. It's never really about the money, it's whether they feel they are worth it. And they might not even feel it. It's our worthiness of feeling good enough and worthy to be healthy. Because quite often with women, and it's generalising here a little bit, but with women quite often we've got a theme of that self-depreciation, because we grow up thinking we have to be, the carers and looking after husbands, children, and we come last. For guys, they feel they have to be providers and they just have to work their arse off to provide for the family. And I know it's a bit stereotypical now, but I'm just giving you an example of what quite often we're facing. And it's never really an objection against the price itself. It's just deep down the conversation that goes on in someone's mind is, I can't justify spending that money on myself.
Yeah. And
that's, again, something that we need to help people work on and understand that unless we look after number one first, we cannot then be the best partner, the best dad, the best mum, the best whoever we are to other people. We have to be the best version of ourselves to ourselves first, and then it just radiates out. It's just that ripple effect that's being created as a result of that.
Exactly. It's like Dan Meredith, one of my good friends, and obviously you guys are good friends of him as well, like, taught me that the gas mask syndrome, that sort of thing, where you've got to fix your own gas mask. If not, how can you help anyone else?
Yeah.
So,
but if you always think about it, we always explain it to people a bit like a barrel of water. So, like for us, obviously what we do is giving a lot of energy. We have to be, on it in order to get someone a result, right? And the same with you, Ollie, same with Dan when he does stuff. But if you think about it from this perspective, if your barrel is only half full and you're not running on full, then everything you give out to someone else, from trying to be positive to them, from trying to help them up, from trying to push them forward, is taking more out of your barrel. And most people are not putting anything back in at the top. They're not doing anything that fulfills them. They're not doing anything that brings them joy. They're not doing anything that brings them a sense of happiness. And these things are the key things that will replenish that bucket quicker than anything. And people say, I can't justify doing this myself because money's a bit tight at the moment. It's like, actually, you can't afford not to do it.
Exactly. So it all pays off in the end.
Exactly. It always comes back in a big circle.
Exactly. Right. So we've been through quite a lot of bits on there. We asked a couple of things on Facebook, like if anyone had any questions to ask. I believe you've got the questions up as well. I've got the questions up this end. So let's just look through. There was one of them that you mentioned on there as one of your favourite questions, Cliff, and that was from Helen Westgate. So, how to relieve heartburn? Her husband has been suffering with it for the past 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, so I love heartburn stuff. It's only because
not experiencing it.
Yeah.
Not experiencing it, obviously, but it's because it's such a misconstrued thing. So what happens is, and I'll just give a very basic physiology here so people understand it, and Helen, I hope it's useful for the other half and he hears it as well. The misconception with stomach acid and heartburn is that we have too much.
Yeah.
And that people get that issue, right? But what people don't understand is that from a physiology point of view, this is how it works. So when we eat food, we should chew it more than what we do, so that's an issue in itself. But it goes down the esophagus, which is obviously just your pipe, down to your stomach. And just before you get to your stomach, you have something called the esophageal sphincter. Okay, and that is a flap of skin essentially that controls food in and out of the stomach. So as food goes into the stomach, it opens, and then as food goes into the stomach and stays there, it closes, right? So it forms a seal. The problem is nowadays is that people are under this massive amount of stress, most mentally, physically, not sleeping, infections, whatever it might be. So what happens is that you have your nervous system, so I'm just going to talk about two parts of it here. You have your fight or flight, which is your sympathetic nervous system, which I'm sure everyone's heard of from a point of view of if someone jumps out of you and booms you, or you were approached by a bear, all of a sudden your heart rate's going to go up, things are going to seem a bit scary, you're going to take some immediate action, right?
Yeah.
You can feel your body pumping, that's fight or flight. And then if you think about something like the other side, it's what we call your rest and digest or parasympathetic nervous system, that is where your digestive system works. Okay, that's where it turns over nutrients, where we break food down, that's where we recover. And that esophageal sphincter will work best in your parasympathetic nervous system. So reflux is a very nervous system disorder, because most people we see that come with reflux, they are very highly stressed. So the two problems that come along with that is that they're in the wrong nervous system, so they're redirecting blood flow away from that sphincter so it doesn't open and close as it should. And the second problem is that when you're in the sympathetic system, the fight or flight system, you block your production of stomach acid from the chief cells in your stomach. So therefore, you end up with lower levels of stomach acid. Food stays in your stomach for longer. And then when the stomach just does the job it's meant to do, which is churn the food, increase the surface area, neutralise bacteria, people start getting symptomology of reflux, like when they bend forward or lay down. But that's not true reflux. So one of the key things people need to do in order to get rid of reflux is A, assess whether their stomach acid is high or low, and I'll give them a clue that 99% of people's is low when we've tested them. And the second thing is look at the things that are putting stress on the body, whether it is the wrong type of exercise, whether it's booze, whether it's not sleeping, whatever it might be. And then also the biggest thing is working on what foods are working for you and what are not as well.
Cool. So, well, with that as well, like, what are the sort of foods which are going to make it more for like your stomach acid like too high and things?
The thing is that it doesn't make it too high. Is that most of the stuff that we talk about that can cause irritation in people will generally be quite high fat foods.
Yeah.
And it's not because fat is bad. We all know that. We're past that. We know it's good for us. But obviously, fat really slows down gastric emptying or emptying of the stomach.
It just takes a lot longer.
So it just takes a lot longer. And obviously, if the food is in the stomach much longer and it starts churning, it's going to make someone feel more uncomfortable. So generally, if someone's on quite a high-fat approach, then obviously they're going to find it a bit more tricky. So you might just reduce their fat slightly and moderate their protein and work out what carbs are working for them. And that would make them feel better. But also you've got to remember food sensitivities, and that are also a very big part of this, because people eat the same foods day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. And that causes big disturbances in the immune system and how the body perceives these things. And there was a study done that when you remove someone's food sensitivities that were basically, it was done by ISOLAB and it was done by MRT, immediate release testing, the best food sensitivity test and the only one really should run.
Yeah.
And they found that within 14 days of removing someone's reactive foods, they had an 82% reduction in IBS and reflux.
What I mean?
And people are like, well, hang on a minute, it's only allergies or intolerance. And that's from a very conventional standpoint, but that's because they don't understand the science before you get to an allergy or before they get to intolerance.
So with like intolerances as well, I believe you guys can do some of the testing, did you say before?
Yeah, we don't necessarily run intolerance. What we run is sensitivity. So an intolerance is more of a point of people who have enzyme issues, or they might have stomach deficiencies in their stomach acid. So they'll represent in bloating or stuff like that 2 hours after food or something along them lines. Sensitivities can manifest itself as anything. So it can manifest itself as joint pain, it can manifest itself in fatigue, almost like migraines.
Brain fog.
Yeah, brain fog.
It's just
different kind of things. It's not specific.
Yeah, such a variety of symptoms that people wouldn't link to food. Yeah. That's the most important thing, because if you have an allergic reaction, you just go into an anaphylactic shock, obviously, as a worst case scenario. You know very, very quickly something is wrong. But with sensitivities, they can manifest themselves up to 72 hours, usually after consuming a certain food. So if someone's getting a headache or brain fog or doesn't feel that great, a couple of days after eating something, they hardly ever, unless they're very aware of what's going on and they know their body, they hardly ever will link it back to the food that they had 48 hours ago. So it's understanding the whole process as much as just taking the food out that helps and brings difference to people. But still, if we're looking at how stress and the nervous system imbalances affect reflux and quite often all other gut issues, even removing the foods that cause sensitivities but not addressing the underlying cause and not looking after balancing your nervous system and getting yourself out of being predominantly in your sympathetic nervous system, so that fight-or-flight response, even the removing the foods that are causing sensitivities are only going to be short-term, because if we do not deal with the underlying stuff, if we then in the future attempt to reintroduce those foods, we're going to just get the same symptoms.
Exactly. So, with that, I've discussed it, I think, before on one of the shows, that this is where we have a lot of the Monday morning syndrome coming in, where, like I've said to people, and your views on it as well, where we have a society which seems to live for Friday or live for the weekend, and they're like, oh my God, it's Monday when it comes. But usually it could even be down to food sensitivity, because they might then go out, like eat structured during the week, go out on a Friday night, have some drink, and then they'll probably be a little bit hungover, dehydrated. They'll wake up late on a Saturday and the Sunday, so their body in theory is jet lagged, and then they might eat a bit bad again on a Saturday, and then Monday morning they feel rubbish. But to find out what the actual food was, because they've eaten so much different foods over the weekend, it's very hard for people, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very tricky, and that's one of the biggest mistakes. Most people, they like the old school way of looking at it was, let's do an elimination, take out the key ones, which are kind of wheat, gluten, dairy, soy, take them out 28 days and then go and have a meal and see how you react. And then, most people will pick something like a pizza, which has all 4 of them in. And they're like, I had a really bad reaction. And you're like, well, you're no further forward because your meal contained all of them things. And it doesn't mean they're all a problem for you. It just means that, you didn't do it in a structured way. So when we run a reintroduction, if we haven't done MRT or testing, and we will say to them, right, I want you to consume this food, whether it be, say it was dairy first, we'd say, right, let's consume some goat's milk or sheep's milk or whatever it is containing for twice in the day or 3 times, a small amount, and then you're not going to have it for another 2 days. So it's completely isolated in whether it works for them or not. And then if that works for them, then you keep it in, and then you move on to the next food, and you build their diet out that way, because at least they know straight away whether something's working or not, rather than putting stuff in every day and then they get to say day 4 and it could be 2 different foods.
Cool. So, as we said, like with the sensitivities, intolerances, allergies, and things like that, a lot of people do get them confused with which is which, as you've mentioned, which ones they are, and then they can then link with other things with different hormones. We've had Steph Westbrook saying about covering things with cortisol. It also links into, and I apologise if I completely butcher the name, Christine Skiberis. Quick
I reckon
fixes.
You said it better than what I would have.
It must be my cultured Norfolk tongue. But quick fixes for an energy boost. How to energetically jump out of bed rather than crawling, falling, being dragged out of it. So.
Silence. How do we go about this? A quick energy fix, go and get a coffee, but that's not making you go any further forward. Go and have an energy drink, that's still not doing anything. It is challenging because there really, truly are no quick fixes, and we wouldn't be true to ourselves if we were to say, just do that, you'll feel awesome. We've been speaking to a lot of people that run their own businesses and they practically on it 24/7 recently. And, adding a pinch of good quality salt, so rock salt or Himalayan pink salt, something that's got good minerals in it, to your water and drinking a decent glass of it before you even start getting on with your day, and just keeping, the pinch of salt per every litre of water you drink in a day will help you with hydration. If we hydrate better, you're going to feel more energized. Keeping your meals throughout the day consistent, it will help you balance your blood sugar levels. But again, these are just things that we need to start implementing and making them our day-to-day habits, because if we got to the point, and I know Chris has a couple of little kids, obviously, it is just so much more demanding than us getting up and getting on with our day and working with people online. I know it's so much more demanding. But again, it's about looking after yourself and making sure that you hydrated, you well fed, and then you sleep better. I know that kids don't sleep, you suffering as well. But why do the kids not sleep? Do you see what I mean? Because perhaps they bounced off some energy of you being frustrated and not having the energy to be the true best mom that you want to be to them. So it again comes back to being consistent with our habits that we know are making us feel better and giving us more energy, and looking after ourselves, after you first. And it's not bad. Being selfish is one of the best and most important things that we can learn as humans. It's just the way we've been taught and exposed to believing that being selfish is bad. Because think about it, if everyone was selfish in a way that they looked after themselves, we would be out of our jobs because there would be no one to help, because everyone would be satisfied, content and happy. So therefore would be able to be the best that they can be and they want to be to those around them. And I know it's, painting a pretty picture, but it really comes down to certain habits and rituals that you have and build to have that energy that you want to have, and knowing that it's you who comes first and then the rest comes after.
Of course, it is, as you say, again, looking at the bigger picture rather than just the energy.
Always.
So
it's consistency. It always comes down to consistency. Like, the thing is with it, like most people now, they'll have quite low cortisol in the morning when we're meant to have the highest level of it, and they go to bed too late, so therefore they're not having enough time to re-regulate what we call your circadian rhythm or their daily rhythm. So they start their day with lower. They're watching TV, they're on their phones, checking unimportant emails 5 minutes before they go to bed. Yeah. So they're disrupting their ability to produce sleep hormone. So literally just putting the foundations in place, pretty much the quick long-term fix to making someone have energy.
Yeah, so not scrolling down on Facebook and things like that.
Yeah, two things that just don't matter.
Apparently there's an app where you can actually find out how much time you spend on Facebook, which could be quite scary for some people on there.
Yeah.
So
I reckon it would probably popular apps in the world.
Exactly. Yeah. So Steph's also said about handling failure. That'll be one for you there, Marta.
I couldn't wait for that question, Ollie. I read it earlier. Right. Failure doesn't exist.
No.
It just doesn't. Simple as that. We've been taught throughout our life that if something doesn't work out the way we wanted it to work out originally, we're a failure and we shit and we failed to achieve what we wanted to achieve. The way our human mind works, it's almost like a computer or a sat-nav, if you like. So if you put in information, I want to become a successful coach, because I know that Steph is a coach as well. So I'm just using it as an example. I don't know if you related, Steph, to coaching or other avenues in your life in terms of failure, or perhaps for your clients even. But let me go with coaching, because it will resonate with quite a lot of people. Or just something that you achieve, set yourself to achieve as a career goal, as an example. And you do something, and that you set yourself, you thought doing that specific thing will get you to where you want to get. And then it doesn't seem to have worked out when you completed a course or took a certain action, to get new clients or whatever it might be. You feel like a failure because you failed. But essentially, how it works for our mind, this wasn't the best and quickest way for us to get there. Therefore, we've learned a most valuable lesson, that this isn't the way to go about things. And therefore, what we do, if you think about SatNav, right, you put in a postcode and your street number and name, and it takes you there. We took a wrong turn accidentally, so what your SatNav's going to do is going to redirect itself and keeps taking us to where we need to go. So at any point, what we as humans perceive as failure, this is just, I always relate to traffic. It could be a busy roundabout. It could be a wrong turn. It could be roadworks. It could be a speed bump that we come up against. It could be, red light that we being stuck at for ages in a big queue. But we've always learned something from it. So it's almost looking at it from a completely different perspective. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. You don't just flip and go, I don't fail anymore. It's reminding yourself that this is what it is. If we didn't know what we don't want, we wouldn't be able to truly know what we do want. So And to me, for one reason or another, it comes really naturally. I never really in my life looked at anything as true failure, and I felt completely defeated. I might not feel good enough at points, which is one of another things that a lot of us humans suffer with. But the failure, I always looked at things. You know, okay, well, it didn't work out maybe, but what did I learn from it? And sometimes you don't see the lesson that we were meant to learn from it initially straight away. It might be in a week, 2 weeks, sometimes in a month, sometimes in a year, but it always will show itself to us if we allow it. So it's looking at it differently rather than dealing with failure, if you like, if you see what I mean. It's looking at it as if we feel like something is not working out, it's okay. My personal sat-nav is redirecting itself, and obviously I'm just taking a wrong turning at the moment, so let's just see, okay, what is it that I need to take out from it, and we're just going to redirect ourselves sooner or later, because once you've dedicated yourself to going in a certain direction, our mind is going to do everything that it can to get us there. And if you think about it, there is a book called The Slight Edge. I haven't read the whole book, but I've heard a great quote that fits in perfectly from a client that recommended the book to me. And don't quote me on the numbers, but it talks about a space shuttle going from the Earth to the Moon. And 90% or 80% of the time of the journey, that space shuttle spent correcting its course. And this is how we humans go through our life as well. We establish where we want to go, and then we get there through different lessons, different experiences, different events that happen in our lives. And it's only, again, another belief that we hold that situations are good or bad. So failure or success, as an example. There's no good or bad situations, really, truly. There's just situations that we learn from in our life. But again, you know, like I said to you guys, I don't expect anyone to just go from feeling like a failure or feeling like they failed at something to then going, yeah, it doesn't work like that. I feel like I'm just going, you know, continuing to my destination, to my goal and things like that. It takes a little while, but the more you observe it, the more you look at the situations that happen to you, and the more you question, okay, I feel like I failed. Okay, I remember someone at some point said something about a failure not being a failure, and just observing it rather than getting immersed in those negative emotions, that's what's giving you the greater perspective on life. And as to, for knowing what we want to do, sometimes we need to know exactly what we don't want to do.
Cool, very good explanation there.
One, didn't I?
That was a good one. That was a good one. So I think you also covered the other question with regards to like stress levels through change, so like down to perception and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. For someone, if you think about it, our perception of things is very, very relative and individual. Cliff always uses an amazing example, which is pretty drastic but quite visual, so it resonates with people. You've got two very similar families, you know, parents do similar jobs, both families have two children, let's say, they live in very similar houses and both houses burn down. One family just goes completely into pickle, they haven't got a clue what to do with themselves, they feel like their life has ended. The other family just looks at it and thinks, well, it happened. Maybe it was a sign for us to finally move out of this area and go and pursue our dreams and just live in the place that we always wanted to live. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Very similar situations, but with a completely different interpretation. And it applies to every single aspect of our life.
Yeah, there's some massive things that I know personally that I've been through, which have all been for a specific reason when you look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So, going on to, well, like literally do two more questions, so I'm just aware of the time we've had on there. Emily Whitehead has said, which is quite a big thing, which I've noticed there's not much information out there about, like how, if at all even, our children's diet should differ from our own. Do they need things, different things to us? Like, should I give them milk and yogurt a day for calcium? Too much leading to sensitivities and so on, things like that.
So, controversial topic, I love it. Yeah. So, I'm very controversial, so it's fine. The thing is with it is that, again, it comes down to the person. I've lost count with the amount of mothers who have come to us with children with reflux and colic that also have their own IBS or stomach or gut issues.
Yep.
What we need to understand is that we're not here saying one thing is good and one thing is bad. It if you have a child that is ingesting breast milk and the mother is eating foods that is not agreeing with the mother, chances are that child is not going to have too much agreement with it, and they have a very, very fragile immune system to start with. You know, it's not for us to say right or wrong whether people should have cow's milk, goat's milk, whatever it should be. But if you can see very quickly that children are having skin issues with, you know, consuming lots of cow's milk or whatever it is, and you know the mother's had it as well, then why are people not being advised to look at things like less allergenic routes, like, you know, goat's milk or sheep's milk or something along them lines?
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it just makes sense. And with regards to should they have the same diet, it's like, well, obviously, if they don't have any teeth, giving them solid food is a pretty poor choice. But as soon as children have teeth, it's the human body's way of saying, I'm ready for solid food. That's the way we look at it. So, you know, people keep children on baby food for a long, long period of time. It's, again, not to say it's right or wrong, but it's to say, well, how is the health of the child? How is their weight? How is their sleep? How are their patterns? As a person, just same as us, but they're just a little version of us, right? So it's the same thing. It's every meal is an opportunity to nourish ourselves, whether it's a child or whether it's an adult. It just doesn't matter. So I think on the calcium side, we've been a little bit crooked and a little bit fooled that, you know, cow's milk is the only option for things like calcium, which is borderline ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But I think if people are willing to, you know, look into some alternatives, if they feel truly that there's a problem, then looking at things like sheep's and goat's milk is a sensible option. It still achieves the same result, but it gives people...
it's also looking, you know, at other sources of calcium in our diet.
Yeah.
Because we were made to believe, obviously, that cow's milk is the best, richest, and the only source. But even looking at green leafy vegetables, there's going to be loads more calcium in them as well. And it's just about having a variety of different foods and having, not eating, like Cliff was saying before, not eating the same stuff over and over again. And quite often we'll be mindful of that and have a great variety of just natural, real food. The nutrients are looking after themselves. And yes, we might go through periods of time in our lives where we have to boost ourselves with certain supplements because we're suffering with this symptom or that symptom, our digestion isn't up to scratch, so we have to help. But majority of the time, it really comes down to being mindful of what we eat and having a great variety of it.
Exactly. So, I mean, looking at what I've been taken on board and learning recently, the whole like pre-post transgeneration and all that like nutritional programming side of things, it's a massive minefield in itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like what our ancestors ate can affect us now, and like and so on, or what you eat when, or what not what I eat when I'm pregnant, because that's never going to happen unless there's some drastic change in science.
Miracle, my friend.
So, well, it happened with Arnie. So,
yeah.
So like what women eat when they're pregnant, and is then going to affect the children, how long people should breastfeed, and so on. So that would be like a whole other conversation in itself.
You could literally have a whole podcast on that. Just
exactly. So, the one we said about on here, Ben Shepherd has said about cutting and reverse dieting. Can you get initially leaner after the cut by increasing food and increasing in metabolism? Is it feasible or advisable to stay in a small deficit day to day all year round to maintain leanness and have refeeds gradually or regularly? As I said, it's kind of hard not to just go in and answer on here, but I've left it with regards to how you would answer that yourself.
I think the real thing is here is that the way we have to look at the human body is that it doesn't really care. All it cares about is finding balance, or what we call homeostasis. So the way in which I always explain it to people is that yes, we need a certain amount of energy in, we need a certain amount of energy out. Where that energy comes from is obviously the utmost importance. So, you know, single ingredient foods, all that kind of stuff. Would I personally have someone in a deficit year round? No, not a chance.
No.
My personal belief around that is that there are far too many fragile systems that can re-regulate themselves in a negative way due to that deficit and cause problems. I'm talking like not many figures. I'll just be really honest out there. I might cause a shitstorm, but hey ho. So a lot of figure competitors and a lot of people do this kind of approach, right? But what they never really put out there is that 8 and 10 years after they're doing figure, they come to people like us to fix. And the reason they come is because they're not digesting their food anymore. Metabolism is really slow. Cutting has become harder and harder and harder. They can't achieve the same shape they have. They are exhausted, and they're just not functioning.
But not even, let alone, like you said, that cutting becomes harder. It's not even while they're competing. We're talking in the future, 10, 15, 20 years after they stopped training as they used to train, dieting as they used to diet. We're talking about the long-term effects of putting your body in the constant state of either deficit or then overload or stress, too much of the sympathetic nervous system response 24/7 as well. The thing is that it's difficult for us to talk about these things because we do not specialize in getting people to a stage level or getting people through specific, diet approaches and things like that. We helping people become the optimal version of the human being that performs to be happy, to be fulfilled, to be satisfied where they are, and any drastic approaches. And we used to do that stuff when we were personal trainers and obviously helping our clients mostly with body composition. We used to test various approaches on ourselves, and to be honest with you, we've never really felt that great.
Same here as well.
Yeah, I think, being honest and just going back to that is not to bash the industry or anything, because I think, if people get and I think there is a real change in regards to people are looking after their health much better nowadays with regards to it. And I think people are understanding that there needs to be nutrients. You can't just do calories out, calories in, calories out, and expect everything to be completely fine. And that's why, we did do one transformation where we took the guy down to, very low figures. But the thing is that the guy all the way until he was competing was sleeping through the night. He woke up with energy and he felt good, and he was eating real food and he was on minimal supplements. And we got him to very, very low figures. We only done it just for a challenge, just to see if we could, by doing it from the health route rather than all the ridiculous cuts and all the other things that go around. And, we saw what he had to go through in his training and everything like that. Could someone maintain that for 40 years of their life? I very much doubt it.
No. And how long did that take as well, roughly?
Well, we only had about 6 weeks with him.
Blimey.
But he was very lean already.
Yeah, I can imagine. A lot of the times you see like 12 weeks.
25-30%. He was, because calipers are not really a standard measure of decentness anymore unless you use DEXA or whatever. But he was, if you used a caliper, he would probably have been sub 10 when he came to us. So to get him down to 5 or whatever it was over that kind of 6 week period.
Blimey. So that it can be done like to a degree, as you say, but then
just wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it is nice to look good and look shredded, but if you can get your mind right and you feel good and you feel healthy, then there's only you anyway. So,
and you hit the nail on the head, Ollie. Because the thing is, believing that shredded is good is the same belief that believing fat is bad. Yeah. Same thing, just different words.
And inferious other people's opinions of you as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's what you believe yourself to be a truth, like Marta went back to earlier in the podcast.
Yeah. So we've covered a hell of a lot on there. Be good in a couple of months to even have a look at having you guys on again to chat a little bit more.
Of course.
Just a couple of other things beforehand. First off, where can guys get in contact with you?
Generally, if you put Wild Performance, Wild with an E, into Google, you'll pretty much find us. So we are wildperformance.com as our website. We are YouTube, Wild Performance is our channel, and then on Facebook, Wild Performance as well.
I'll put all your details on the show notes as well anyway.
Cool. Awesome.
And lastly, is there anyone in your network that you know of that you think would be good to actually come on the show and share some knowledge as well?
Well, I could get Raj.
That would be really good.
Our mentor.
I reckon we could set you up with Raj. He's the busiest man on the planet, and no one knows him, but everyone knows him, if that makes sense. And I reckon we could probably get him in touch. He'd be up for that, I should imagine. That
would be really good, having you guys, him, and then next week I'm recording with Steve as well. So getting the trio on. So that'll be really good. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for spending the time on the show. And yeah, I'll pop all the details up, and that should be up within the next day.
Thank you, buddy.
Brilliant. Thank you.